All right, I think we're live. Good evening, everybody. We got a couple people in here waiting on me. We've got Brad Smith and Sharon Pace and Walker Farm Fam. So hello to you guys. Thanks for joining us for the live broadcast tonight. I appreciate that. Hopefully everybody's doing well. It's a little bit crazy out there right now, but hang in there. It's going to pass. We'll make it through just fine. Let's see. What need to get my kind of disclaimers out of the way here for anybody that's new that has not been here before. Let's see, this is the weekly live broadcast. We do this pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central Time. I don't have a topic planned. It's just an Ask Me Anything session. So, ask me anything you want to ask me. The only thing I ask is you keep it family friendly. We do have a lot of different people in here, different age groups, different backgrounds. Just keep it family friendly. We don't want to have to kick anybody out. We will kick you out if you start cussing at people or calling them names, inappropriate jokes, those kinds of things. So just, again, keep it family friendly. But other than that, it's pretty much just ask me anything. So hang on just one second here. Excuse me. All right, I think we're good to go then. So, all right, so we got, who's that? Rocky's Win and LLJ and Peter Flatten says from St. Cloud, Minnesota, I think that is. MN, that's Minnesota, right? I have a hard time remembering everybody's, state initials and those kinds of things, but that's okay. Hatch Poultry made it in tonight. Hello there. Hopefully, I got some chickens on order from Hatch Poultry. Hopefully the shipping doesn't shut down on us like everything else seems to be shutting down. They'll come in and be just fine. Grab a drink here real quick while we're waiting on everybody to get in here. Hello to Sharon Pace. Good evening to you. And Brian Holmes from Alton, Missouri. That's not too far away from me. I think I know where that is anyway. Hello to Lynn and Debbie. Good to see you well. Thank you very much. Good to see you guys are well too. Yeah, so far we've been kind of spared from it. There have been some confirmed cases in Springfield, which is about an hour away, where my company has another office there, but just a handful of them. Everything seems to be shutting down though. All the every event that you want to go to is canceled. They actually haven't closed down restaurants and things like that here. They did in Springfield. But here we're still pretty much life is normal, unless you need to go to the grocery store for some reason. So, if you need to go to the grocery store, well, good luck, because the shelves are pretty bare right now, but that'll calm down. All the people that went out and bought tons of stuff will get over that, and they'll calm down here pretty quick. This light's a little bit bright here. Let me turn this down just a tad bit. We'll see if we can get, wrong way. All right, maybe that's a little bit better. All right, hopefully it is. I don't know if it is or not, but you guys can see me, I hope, and we're going okay. All right, so where are we at here? William Safford says, my 10-year-old is getting ready to butcher her first quail. I don't think she will be able to do it, but she swears she can. I have a vicious female that killed another one and wounded 3 more. Well, 10 years old, let's see, by 10 years old, yeah, I'd butchered a chicken by the 10 years old. So, you never know. 10 years old, that's a good age to start them out. It's a good skill to learn. It's something that you can take with you for the rest of your life, to be able to process meat, be able to butcher animals and things like that. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but hey, you need to get it done. Learn where your food comes from. I think it's an important thing to teach young people. So good luck. Hopefully she can do it. If she can't, don't make fun of her, support her, give her a hand, and I'm sure she'll get there eventually. All right, Drew says hello. Boris says, hello to you, Drew, by the way. Boris says, hello, Chris. Nice weather in Joplin. Are you in Joplin too, Boris? It's not bad out right now. It's been rainy and gloomy for like a week and a half. And just every day, rain and, cloudy, gray skies. And they actually broke apart for a little while. We got some sun this afternoon, and it got up to, 65, almost 70 probably, somewhere right around in there. So pretty nice out, but I think we got another round of storms coming. I'm looking out the window, and it looks like rain coming again. So anyway, Jakir says, hello, Chris. Nice to join you from the UK. Staying up late for us. I appreciate that. Says, I hope you and your family are doing well amongst all the coronavirus mayhem. Yeah, so far, no problems here. If anything, my wife works for a pharmacy, so, that she'd be the one I'd be concerned about. But, no, we're doing fine. No major problems here. Just, like I said, kind of hard to get supplies from the grocery store if you need anything. Luckily, we're pretty well stocked up. Maybe not things that we just love, but we've got plenty to make it through if we need to for quite a while. Michelle says, greetings, Chris, and everyone out there. Be safe. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. Lord Drell says, hello, Chris. Hello from Greenville, North Carolina. Hello to you. And let's see, Ellen, hello from Oliver Springs, Tennessee. Do you tan your rabbit pelts, and what method do you use? I don't tan my rabbit pelts. Let's see. I was going to say about that. I don't tan my rabbit pelts. Generally, when I'm processing rabbits, they're only about 8 to 12 weeks old. That they don't really have a thick enough hide to tan and use for anything other than like craft purposes and things like that. So I don't typically tan them. I have tanned before using a battery acid method, which is, I'd have to look up the exact recipe, but you basically put, a couple of tablespoons of battery acid in water, and you tan them that way. Be careful with that. It's actually water to acid. I can't remember now. I'm trying to remember. You don't add the, don't add the acid to the water. Add the water to the acid. That way you have to look that up and see exactly the recipe for that. I can't remember the exact recipe. I'd have to look it up, but you basically pickle them in there for a while, and then you scrape the hides and, a couple of things like that. But I'm not an expert on tanning, so it's probably not the best resource for you. You'll have to look somewhere else for that one, unfortunately. All right, Hatch Poultry says, USPS told us they are not shutting down and any of this, so hopefully, okay, they're not shutting down during any of this, so hopefully that's true. Hopefully it is. Vanny Karana, I'm not sure if I got your name right, says, hey, it's 1 a.m. here. Well, thanks for staying up late or getting up early, whichever it was, and joining us on the live broadcast. I appreciate that. And then we got Ron Tyrone from New York, from Elmira, New York, and Rich Grace from St. Louis. I've been to St. Louis before. Rocky's Win says, what are we doing? Well, I don't know what you're doing. We're just hanging out and chatting is what we're doing here. Jakir says, I've noticed that quail feed costs have gone up. Has anybody else noticed that too? No, I haven't. I haven't been to buy quail food. I've got a couple of bags still yet before I need to go in and get any. But I don't know if the prices have gone up at all. I'll have to check on that and see. Drew says, how are your meat rabbits? Well, they're doing fine. I've got a litter of 8 right now that are, what are they, 4 weeks old, 5 weeks old, something like that. So, another 4 or 5 weeks, something like that, and we'll be processing those, but they're doing just fine. Rob says, hello from Alabama. Love your channel. Well, thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. And Jakir says, can the coronavirus spread to the quails? I don't know, honestly. I have no idea if it can be spread between different species or not. I have no idea if it's specific to humans. I just don't know. I wish I could answer that one for you, but I can't. Todd says, hey, Chris, going into lockdown on Saturday, any tips for a newbie? Well, yeah, I've got a bunch of tips. I've actually got a whole series on that. So if you need to, you can go back and look at my, go to my homepage, and there's a playlist on there for, what is it, hatching and storing eggs, I think is what it's called. I'll grab another drink here. And you can watch that, and it's got a whole bunch of tips in there. But just to give you kind of a quick couple pointers right here, when you go into lockdown, make sure you add a little bit of water if you haven't been already. You want to bump the humidity up just a little bit, not too much. So you want it in 75 to 80% range. Try not to go too much over 80%. When you go into lockdown, it's called lockdown for a reason. You shut the incubator, do not open it until the birds have hatched. Now, ideally, you're not going to open it until the hatch is completely done, but that's not always the case. But don't just, when your birds first hatch out, don't just dive right in there and open that thing up. Give them time. They can last up to 48 hours or so before you have to take them from the incubator to the brooder. Now, I like to go about 48 hours usually after the first one's hatched before I open it up. And depending on where you live, how dry the air is. Here, it's still kind of wintertime. It's still pretty dry out. So I would keep some water handy, room temperature, or even a little bit warmer. And when you go to open up that incubator the first time, remove all the birds that have hatched already and are dry and fluffy. Don't move them out of the incubator if they're still kind of wet. Leave them in there, let them dry out. But move all the birds that are dry and fluffy out of the incubator. You may have to add a little bit more water at that time. If it's evaporated, if it hasn't, don't worry about it. Just close it back up, and you'll still have some birds that'll hatch, hopefully. You don't really want to open the incubator if you can avoid it when there's birds that have pipped the shell, like put a hole in the shell, but they haven't hatched yet. because that rush of fresh air going in there can kind of vacuum seal them inside their egg, and you end up not getting them to hatch at all. So there's a couple of tips on that. Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. Get your brooder box ready, get it warmed up, so you can just move your birds right to it when they're ready to go. All right, Kathy says, hi, Chris. Hope you're well. I'm doing very well. Thank you. William Safford says, Jakir, CDC says no. Oh, the CDC says no to the coronavirus spreads to quails. You hear something funny. I thought you were talking about me. My initials are CDC, and that's what I use as my username on a lot of different things that I've been on. So it's kind of funny when I see that. Sometimes I think it's referring to me. All right, Rob says, exploring with a rabbit tractor. And I think you were saying no to the coronavirus being spread to quail and other animals, probably. That's what you were saying. All right, Ron Donaldson says, exploring with a rabbit tractor. Any experience here? I've actually not used a rabbit tractor myself. I've seen plenty of people that do that, though. I don't think there's any problems with it. I don't have personal experience with it, so I can't really, answer questions from a personal experience standpoint. The one thing I will say is, depending on where you live, it may not be that big of an issue where you live. It may be a bigger issue. Who knows? But rabbits in contact with the ground are going to have a higher risk of parasites, ticks, fleas, all those kinds of things. It may not be a big issue for you. It just depends on where you live and what kind of population of those kinds of things are there anyway. Lots of people raise rabbits in tractors, and they do just fine. There's no reason not to, so go for it. Boris says, in Joplin for a day, better than Chicago. You should have let me know. Maybe we could have met up somewhere, huh? I always like to meet people that watch my channel. But yeah, I've been to Chicago. I've been through the airport, but not really spend any kind of time in Chicago. But I imagine it is better here right now. It's pretty nice right now, so you can't complain about that. Other than, like I said, we got some rain coming. It's starting to cloud up again. It's been that way for a week, but it's not bad. We're getting some pretty nice weather. It's been in the 60s and low 70s, just kind of light jacket weather or no jacket at all. It's been pretty nice. We got a little bit of cold weather coming this weekend. I think it's supposed to get down to 35 or so, like Friday night or Saturday night. But it's that time of year. That's not uncommon, so can't complain about that. Thomas Hild says, hi from Wichita, Kansas. New to here. Well, thanks for joining. I appreciate that. And I've been to Wichita plenty of times. Kathy says, I'm happy to announce a new litter from my Rex doe. She had 7 healthy babies last night. Congratulations, and glad to hear things are going great. Rocky's Wind says, Denver is snow, not Florida. Denver is snow, it's not Florida. Yeah, it's not Florida, huh? Yeah, well, I can imagine you have snow in Denver this time of year, depending on what elevation you're at. I went to Tahoe one time, Lake Tahoe, and it was like June, and it was snowing. It was kind of crazy, but that, depending on where you're at, yeah, the weather is a lot different in different places. All right, Vanny says, hello from Malta. I don't know where Malta is exactly, but thanks for joining us from there. Can you feed bananas to quail? Yeah, you can feed bananas to quail. I mean, you don't want to make that like their primary diet. They eat nothing but bananas, but yeah, they can have it as a treat or, an occasional, something. That's fine. All right, Drew Smith says, have you ever, Wago Crazy. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. And Drew Smith says, have you ever dabbled with aquaponics? I have a small system and wondered if you have any tips. Okay, I haven't personally done aquaponics. I researched it a whole lot and considered it one time. What I finally decided, if you don't know what aquaponics are, generally, it's not always food, fish, but generally what you're looking at is you're growing, basically, okay, let me back up. At its simplest, aquaponics is growing plants kind of hydroponically, but generally you're going to be growing them in like fish, like water where you have fish. So the waste from the fish feeds the plants fertilize that water, put it back in the fish tank for the fish. That's aquaponics. Most people that do aquaponics will try to get both a fish yield and a vegetable yield out of it. So they're growing their plants, and then they're also raising fish that they're going to eat. So most of the time they're using tilapia, because tilapia will readily breed in captivity, and they grow really, really fast. So you can get a fish yield and vegetables out of the same system. They're supposed to be highly productive, work really, really well. Excuse me. The problem that I have with aquaponics for me is that, well, a couple of things. One, I don't like tilapia all that much. To me, they're just kind of blah. They're not that great a fish. Secondly, they're not hardy enough for me. I can only raise them for a short time of the year because they can't handle the cold at all. They don't do very well in cold at all. Now, there are other fish you could use for that. You could even use goldfish if you wanted to, but I don't really see the point of raising fish if I'm not going to be able to eat them. That's just my opinion. And there are other fish you could use for that. Most of them wouldn't breed in captivity, so you don't have that kind of self-sustaining cycle of them. So that's why I haven't gotten into it. The basic aquaponic systems are pretty simple though. You need something to, an ebb and flow system is probably the most common, where you would have like a main tank that you would have your fish in, and then maybe another, what people a lot of times will make them out of like IBC totes, the great big 300-gallon plastic totes. And you cut the top of them off, you turn the top over, that becomes your grow bed. Pack that with some medium. It would be similar to like what you would grow in hydroponics, so like hydroponic medium, kind of rocks and coconut coir, that kind of stuff, is what you would pack that with. And then you can rig up like like basically a toilet bowl, or toilet float valve type system that would, you have it to where it pumps the water into there somehow or another. And your valve raises with that, it pumps the water into the grow bed, your raises, and then when it gets to a certain level, it flushes basically, and it flushes all that water out back into the fish tank, and then it just keeps that cycle going. So it's not constantly wet, but you're feeding nutrients through to that on a regular basis. And that's a little bit easier to show, I think, than it is to explain. They're not, like I said, not terribly complex, but I'm not the expert on that either, so I may have to point you in other directions for that. All right, Jakir says chicken eggs are out of stock in all supermarkets. Yeah, they are here too. We're really fortunate to have quails laying eggs on a daily basis. To be honest, I don't like the taste of chicken eggs anymore since having quail. Really, I don't find that there's any difference in the taste between a chicken egg or a quail egg. Really, they taste pretty much the same to me. But yeah, I'm pretty much down to quail eggs too. There's no chicken eggs in the store, which is okay because I'm getting more eggs than I can eat. Or more eggs than we do eat. We don't eat eggs every day or even all that often. So we got plenty of eggs, and we'll make it on those for a long time if we had to. Brian Simpson Burgess, I should say, says, hello, Chris. I have 5 Coturnix quail escape about 11 months ago, and now I still see them on my garden sometimes. They come and feed under my bird feeders. Interesting. I'm surprised that they've made it that long. I would assume that, being out in the wild like that, they just wouldn't live very long at all. Either a stray dog or a cat or, hawks or something like that would take them out. But hey, it's nice to know that they made it. Maybe you'll be able to catch them at some time and get them back in your flock. All right, Debbie says the price in East Texas is the same. I think you're talking about the price of quail food and things like that. So it's good to know the price isn't going up. Like I said, I haven't checked here really, so I don't know if they've gone up any here or not. Where are we at here? Kathy Himpson says, do you have much experience with Rexes? What's a good average weight for babies 8 weeks old? My kits are New Zealand Rex or... Wait. My kits are Rex crossed with New Zealand. So I don't have personal experience with Rexes. I don't think I've ever grown any. No, I've never raised Rexes myself. But they make a fine meat rabbit. If you're talking about a standard Rex, of course, not a mini Rex. Those are more pet rabbits. The thing about standard Rex rabbits is they are kind of considered a dual-purpose rabbit, so they have a really nice fur, and you get a meat yield out of them too. And again, you really have to grow them out to adulthood before you get a pelt that's really worth tanning and saving and those kinds of things. But yeah, I think they'd be fine for meat rabbits. They'd make pretty good meat rabbits. I don't see any reason not to raise them. All right, Outside in Georgia says, hello, I hope all the raw quail eggs I can eat. Oh, yeah, I hope all the raw quail eggs I eat can help against coronavirus. Yeah, I don't know if, like I said, I've said it before anyway, there's real scientific evidence that raw quail eggs in your diet can help treat and cure even, a ton of different diseases and things like that. I don't know how it would work against coronavirus, but it won't hurt. You might as well try it. All right, Thomas Hild says, newbie wanting to get started raising chickens and quail. Well, you came to the right place, kind of. I don't really raise chickens. I am going to do some chickens, some meat chickens this spring, so I'll have that on my channel. But, we got plenty of information about quails, so you came to the right place for that. All right. Excuse me, I've got a tickle in my throat. It's very dry right this time of year, and it seems to bother me worse whenever I'm talking a whole lot. That's why I have a can of soda. Luckily, stores haven't run out of my true addiction here yet. All right, where are we at here? Lahib says, hello, hope everyone is doing well. Finally made it again to a live one. Hope all is healthy and safe. Thank you very much, Lahib. So far, doing well. Hope you are too. Outside in Georgia says, I just had a hatch where no egg hatched. I suspect it's because I sprayed with hydrogen peroxide every day as I added the new eggs when I was storing them. Well, that shouldn't, I mean, if you're talking straight hydrogen peroxide, maybe, that may have some effect on them. But, hydrogen peroxide's, it's fine to use. Cut it with water, 50%, kind of like I do with Listerine usually, and spray your eggs down. It will help with killing, bad bacteria and those kinds of things and keeping them a little bit cleaner. You don't necessarily have to spray them down every single day, but I don't think that would really overly affect your hatch rate unless it was like ice cold or something like that. It may be that, it just may be early in the year. They're not laying fertile eggs yet. That could be it too. Who knows? There's so many different things that could go into it. Try again. You'll probably have better results next time. All right, Debbie says, when do jumbo Coternics start laying eggs? Well, that varies a little bit. Usually you're looking at about 8 to 12 weeks, somewhere right between there. Most of the time they're going to start laying probably closer to 8 weeks old than 12, but sometimes it'll take them a little bit longer. Now, of course, that's assuming that you have the assuming you have the right setup for them. They need light. They need 14 hours a day of light in order to lay on a consistent basis. But as long as you got all that set up, then you're fine. You're going to start getting eggs probably around 8 weeks. It may be as long as 12 weeks, though. You just kind of have to be patient with them and give them time to mature. But that's about what you can expect. All right. Quail eggs are partially responsible for the carpal tunnel pandemic. Too soon with a question mark. Sorry, I'm not sure. Carpal tunnel pandemic. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. So you lost me on that one. I'm sorry. Mr. Messia says, hey, Chris, how are you today? I'm doing well, thank you. I don't know about you guys, but like I said, it is getting a little crazy out there. I mean, the stores are pretty much bare. It's hard to find anything in the stores. There's no eggs. There's no, there's some dairy, but not a lot. There's not really much meat in the stores right now. Like if you want to go buy ground beef or something, not there. You couldn't find it at all. They still have the more expensive cuts like some steak and some of those kinds of things. Had no problem getting corned beef, so we had corned beef and cabbage for St. Patrick's Day. But yeah, I couldn't find rye bread, so we didn't get to have leftover Reuben sandwiches. But it could be worse. I'm actually working from home right now. My company made the decision that everybody that can work from home, go ahead and do it. And, for the rest of this week, maybe next week, we don't know yet. But we're doing our best to keep everybody healthy so we don't have to completely shut down. For the people that can't work from home, give them the opportunity, make sure that they still have a job and they can still work, and we don't have to shut down in the meantime. Anyway, that's way off topic, I guess is what we were talking about. Lahib says, my jumbo quails have feed and water all the time, and I randomly find dead ones, 2 to 3 per week, and it's obvious that they were killed by other quails. I see blood and feathers plucked. Interesting. I can't say I've had that. Let's see. I've watched them for hours. They didn't even attack each other. I don't know what to do. Boy, that's interesting. Let's see. They have feed and water all the time. So that would be my first guess if you're restricting them from feed at certain times or something like that. I mean, it's possible that you just have a couple in there that are super aggressive and they're attacking and killing the other ones. It could be something entirely different. Do you have rats by chance? Rats may be getting in there and killing some of your birds. Usually they're going to eat some of it. I mean, there's going to be more than just a couple of feathers plucked if that's the case. I'm afraid I don't have great advice for you. You can try turning the lights down. If you give them less than 14 hours a day of light, that'll calm them down, but that probably defeats your purpose because you're not going to be getting eggs then. So, the best idea is to try to figure out which one it is that is doing the killing. I don't know what you can do on that. If you've sat and watched them for hours and haven't been able to figure out which one is the aggressive one in there, boy, I don't know. That's a tough one. I wish I had better advice for you. I just don't know. Trying to think if there's anything else. I can't think of anything else to advise on that. I'm sorry, you stumped me on that one. All right. Tyler, good evening, Chris and everyone else. Good evening to you, Tyler. Thanks for joining. Carolina says, I had a 9-week-old quail, not able to lift its head and died today. I separated it from the others. Can it be disease? It could be. It could be neurological, like it bumped its head on something, had a neck injury of some kind. But it could be, let's see, what is that? Hang on just one second. What is that disease? It's not, I mean, you're talking about an older quail, not wryneck, but there's a couple of diseases. I can't find it real quick. One, is it Muir's disease? Is that the one I'm thinking of maybe? That could be something to kind of keep an eye on. It's probably just a one-time occurrence. That bird got sick for whatever reason. Like I said, it bumped its head, it hurt itself, it just caught something. Who knows? You separated it from the other birds. Yeah, just give it some time, watch your other birds, make sure they're okay. I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you are stressed, you might pick up some electrolytes or something like that, add to their water, give them a little bit of an immune boost. But it's probably hopefully just a one-time thing. All right, Chris Derry Rose Elrod says, good evening from Arkansas. Thanks for joining us. Lahib says, and because of the deaths and possible stress when it happens, no eggs for weeks now. Yeah, it sounds like something's, if you're not finding the birds, there may be something else getting in there. That may be what's causing it. And that may be what's causing them to stress out and not lay eggs. Who knows? There's a lot of different ways or things that could be happening. Stump Logic Farm says, I found a quail scalped. Why do they do that, and how can I stop it? Okay, a couple of things there. You could have an aggressive bird in there, but generally when you're seeing the birds getting scalped, it's probably the feathers on the back of their head that are getting plucked out. And when you say scalped, I'm assuming you don't mean like the bird wasn't killed. It's just got all the feathers on the back of its head plucked out. That's pretty common breeding behavior. So if you've got too many males in there, I don't like to go more than one male for every 4 to 5 hens. If you've got more males than that, like if you've got like 3 males to every, 1 male to every 2 hens, something like that, they'll overbreed your females and they will pull the feathers out of the back of their head in the process. It's just normal breeding behavior. You just got too many males in there. So if that's the case, the biggest thing you could do is reduce the number of males you have. 1 rooster for every 4 to 5 hens is plenty. So that's the first thing I would start with. If that's not the case, then you may look for, if you've got an overly aggressive bird. Another thing that can happen is, at the start of the breeding season, when the roosters first start crowing, they first come into the breeding season, then a lot of the times they can get kind of not aggressive necessarily, but it's warm in here. If you guys are wondering what I'm doing, I'm taking off this extra shirt, cool off a little bit. I'm starting to sweat. So where was I going with that? Oh, a lot of times when they first start breeding, the roosters can get just a little bit over anxious with the breeding. They'll tend to calm down after a couple of weeks, so it's not really a big deal. As long as it's not, like I said, killing your birds. If it's just, they're losing some feathers in the back of their head or something, they'll grow those back. It's not that big of a deal. Give them some time. So hopefully that helps. All right. Good grief. Is that Isaiah Garcia? Hello. Yeah, you don't need to spam us with stuff. We got like 30 comments saying hello, hi, 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 hi. Hello, hello. All right. Christian Acevedo says, hey, Chris, how are you doing? A neighbor up the street gave me 5 rabbit cages. Awesome. I'm doing well, thanks. You can't beat 5 rabbit cages for free. Any kind of rabbit cages for free is a good deal. Sherry says, please go back and answer my question. Sherry, where is it? I'm not seeing that. Wait. Did I miss it? I did miss it. I'm so sorry. There it is. Okay. How do you get a bun to stop peeing orange and red? They eat well, fresh grass, pellets, hay, carrots, happy and doing great. People are afraid to buy them because of it. Well, biggest thing you can do is stop feeding them carrots and grasses and all those kinds of things. It's perfectly normal. It's what they're doing is they're basically just, it's the pigmentation in the food that they're eating that they're passing in their urine. It's perfectly normal. Unless you stop feeding them all that stuff, you're not going to get them to stop peeing that color. That's just the way it is. So, it's nothing to worry about. You can explain to them it's just because of what we feed them. It's just, that's how rabbits expel those pigmentations. It can be found in, if you feed your rabbits a lot of even cabbage and things like that you wouldn't normally think of as orange, will come out as orange in the urine sometimes. So It's just perfectly normal. There's nothing you can do except for stop feeding them those things, which is probably not the answer you wanted, but that's it. That's all you can do. All right, Michelle says, I'm hatching quails as we speak. 2 hatched on day 10. On day 10, really? Never saw that happen before. Well formed. Day 18 now, and others are hatching, and they are not being turned as the turner was off. On day 10, I don't think I've ever had any hatch quite that early. You know, I would almost say that points to your incubator temperature being just a little bit high, but if the rest of them are hatching out on day 18 and they're fine, they're not having any kind of, issues, it's probably not an incubating issue, an incubator temperature issue. What may have happened is maybe when you were storing those eggs, they started developing a little bit earlier than the rest of them. So they were actually on day 16, 17 or whatever. And, they just hatched out that way. You just happen to be that way. I don't know. It's hard to say. All right. Big Mike says, are Bob White quail much different than the others? Yeah, they are. They are quite a bit different, actually. I mean, they're a different species altogether than the others. As far as how to take care of them, though, not terribly different. The one thing about Bob White quail, you're not going to get nearly the egg production you do out of Coturnix quail. They don't grow as fast as Coturnix quail do. So if you want birds for meat and egg production, you're better off with Coturnix than Bob Whites. The other thing about Bob Whites is if you live in the United States, which I'm assuming you do, they're a native bird, so you're going to need a permit from like your conservation department or something like that to raise them. It's not hard to get. It's pretty cheap. It's pretty easy to do, but you do need to get that permit. It's illegal to raise them without a permit because they are a native bird. So, but as far as taking care of them, there's not much difference between taking care of Bob Whites versus Coturnix or whatever. All right. Lieb says, today was the first day over 58 for a couple of hours. Got to remove the dead plants and got soil in. Bought 10 chickens and a rooster. Nice. That first day over 58 for a couple of hours. Wow. Yeah, we've had some pretty nice weather, actually. It's not been bad. I mean, other than, like I said, it's been kind of cloudy and rainy. And, I mean, the sky's just been gray every day for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And, that gets to you a little bit. But the temperature hasn't been that bad at all. All right. Donna says, I've used goldfish. I'd use goldfish. You were talking about it in an aquaponics system, I think. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with using goldfish in an aquaponics system. I just don't know if I want, fish to have to take care of. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll do it sometime. All right. Carolina says, stump logic, female getting bred. Were we talking about the birds getting scalped? I think that's what you were responding to. Yep, I absolutely agree. That's probably what it was. All right, Donna says, I've got 20 dozen eggs, duck and chicken. Interesting. That's a lot of eggs. I love duck eggs. Duck eggs are fantastic. If you like fried egg sandwiches, there's not much better than a fried duck egg sandwich. It's just, it's so good. Stump Logic Farm says, this couldn't have been when breeding. This one was scalped. So you mean completely scalped, like the head taken, like skin off the head completely. That could be just territorial behavior. You often see that whenever you add new birds to an existing flock, or if you, sometimes when, the breeding season comes on, the birds just for some reason get aggressive and start getting territorial. It's usually just one or two of the birds in there, and they will turn sometimes, and I mean, they'll kill another bird occasionally. Usually what you find is a peck around the eyes more than scalping them, but that, I mean, it could happen both ways. So it could be that you've got just an aggressive bird in there. Hopefully it doesn't continue. I'm assuming when you said this bird was scalped, that means it probably died. It probably didn't make it. So now that you've got that one out of there, maybe you've got the one that they decided to pick on away from them, and they'll calm down. I'm hoping that's the case. If not, the only thing you can do is really watch and try to figure out which one the aggressive one is. You can usually, watch them for a little while, and you'll kind of figure that out pretty quick and remove that aggressive one from the cage. I like to do that anyway because I don't like to breed aggressiveness into my animals. But you can handle it. I mean, that's really the only way to really stop it completely. All right. William Chapman says, where did it go? Hello, Chris. We're doing good in Alabama. I just got my quail breeder's license here. We're trying to get more incubators up and running to be able to get more hatching. Nice. Well, congratulations on your new license and good luck on the quail hatching. Hopefully it goes well. Robin's Nest says, I'm most likely going to be laid off from my job soon. I'm planning on starting up full swing with quail, selling meat and eggs. What price can I get for meat and eggs in Florida? Thank you. you're going to have to look at your local market to find out about that. One caution I will give you about selling meat is look into your local laws. I'm not an expert on this, but my understanding is you can probably sell a certain amount of meat and get away with it. But if you're wanting to make like a living off of it, you're going to have to be like FDA inspected and all those kinds of things to really to sell meat for human consumption anyway. So that's something you're going to have to look into and make sure. If you are going to plan on selling birds and eggs and things like that, especially if you plan on like shipping across state lines or anything, you're going to have to be MPIP certified. So you have to look into that as well. I hope it all works out for you. I'm not trying to be the naysayer here. It's just a couple things to look into. You don't want to get, in the middle of it and, put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, and then find out you're doing something illegal and get fined and all those kinds of things. And, that would be sad for sure. But either way, as far as the price to go for meat and eggs, I don't know anyone selling quail meat around here. They sell live birds, and usually for an adult bird, you can get about $5 a bird, something like that. Eggs, it's a iffy market on eggs around here. Not many people buy quail eggs. Occasionally they'll buy them to hatch. You might be able to get when you do sell them, probably like $3 a dozen, something like that out of them. But it's not a real big market for it. All right, William says, Robin, our store is out of every egg, but they have not sold a single quail egg. You'll have to educate your area to buy eggs. Well, that's a good point. I haven't ever seen, I've seen quail eggs in a store before, but it's not common. It's pretty rare around here. Let's see, Brian says, we have 8 dozen eggs and counting. Nice. Ellen, I'm not sure what that means, but you said booga flu. I don't know what that means, but okay. William, all my money comes from my baby quails. Yeah, around here, babies, up to about a week old, usually go for about $1 a bird. So it's not a huge profit you're going to make off them, but you don't have much feed in them at that point either. So, that might be the way to go, is to selling baby birds and things like that. All right, Wes Koppel says, I've been selling a lot of rabbits past couple of weeks, almost out now. Yeah, I could see that being pretty common. I think, and a lot of times too, this time of year, we're getting close to Easter, so people are kind of thinking about buying rabbits as pets and things. I always caution people if it comes to my rabbits that, these aren't really pet rabbits. They're probably not going to be the best idea for you to buy as a pet. But, I do sell a few things, a few rabbits from time to time. Usually as meat rabbits. I sell them as breeders or as, whatever. And people buy them as meat rabbits. All right. Sharon Pace says, I guess the COVID-19 is not just like the flu. Well, it's not a flu virus. And this is what Gravity Tom is saying. It's not a flu virus. It's a pneumonia virus. I personally, I've said this a couple of weeks ago. I think there's a lot of media hype around it. I still think that. There's a lot of media hype. There's a lot of panic going on. It's the fear that's causing the problems right now, not as much the virus. The vast majority of people that get the virus recover without really any complications, not really a big deal at all. Of course, just like any other illness, the flu included, it's the elderly, it's those with underlying health issues that are going to be at risk. Those are the ones that are going to have complications. Most likely, or those are the ones that, if requiring hospitalization, it would be them that it's going to affect more than anybody else. I think the thing about the coronavirus or the COVID-19 or whatever is that it does seem to be maybe a little bit more contagious than what the flu is. It seems like, everything I've read and everything I've looked at, the death rate on COVID-19 versus the flu, about the same. There's a lot of people that probably, depending on what studies you look at, some of them look like they're a little bit higher death rate, but that's probably because of underreporting. A lot of people that get the virus never really have any major symptoms, so they never go to the doctor, they never get tested, they never get confirmed. So therefore, it doesn't go into the number of people that caught the virus, if that makes sense. But all this stuff getting canceled, all this lockdowns going on and quarantines. On one hand, I kind of understand it. I get it that this is such a contagious virus, I guess is what we would say. There's still a lot of little unknowns about it. We want to head it off before it becomes a big issue, and if that works, then great. But I do still think maybe it's a little bit overkill on that. But again, I'm not a disease expert either, so thank goodness there are people way smarter than me trying to figure this out. I do think that there are people probably on both sides of the line politically and in the media that are using this to their advantage and hyping it up more than it needs to be hyped up. And I don't know, I'm a little concerned with what's going to happen because of that. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. All right. This is Vanny says, I have some jumbo quails and they're for eggs and as pets. Do they fly a lot, as I might place some in the garden if they can't fly out of reach? Well, you know, mine are not great flyers, but they could easily fly over a 4-foot fence. So you're probably not going to be able to keep them out in the garden unless you have a really, really tall fence. Even then, I mean, it would have to be pretty tall to keep them in there. And especially if you leave them outside all the time, they're probably going to learn to fly better and be able to get over, you know, pretty good sized fences. Unless you have some kind of top on it, you're probably not going to be able to keep them in there. And the other thing to think about is if you have them out in the garden, they become easy prey for things like hawks and owls and, you know, all those kinds of things that eat baby or eat little birds, you know. So that would be some things to be concerned about there. All right, Gravity Toy says, cracking all those eggs, quail eggs, made my fingers sore. Nothing like 12-egg omelet to get your morning started. Yeah, I tell people that sometimes, you know, they'll say, oh, I had eggs for breakfast. I'll say, yeah, I had a dozen eggs for breakfast too. And they look at me kind of crazy. I'm like, yeah, quail eggs. But if you don't have any quail egg scissors, get you some quail egg scissors. Those are a lifesaver. You just snip the top of the egg off and dump it out. That's the way to do it. All right. Lahib says, is it too soon to put potatoes in the ground? What can I plant now? Western New York area, so 6B. A lot of seeds say as soon as you can work the soil, plant. So not sure if we get a freeze or a frost or a freeze. Okay, good question on that one. Don't know that I can answer it completely, but I can point you into the right direction for some resources. Hang on just one second. Let's see, Western New York is zone 6B. That seems odd to me. I think I'm zone 6B here. That I would think that New York would be a different planting zone altogether. Anyway, you can double check that online though. Go online, look up your zip code. It'll tell you what planting zone you're in. And you can look at planting calendars. Now here, our average last frost date is April 15th. So, you know, right now is an okay time to plant potatoes. You know, around here we always go by, you plant potatoes on St. Patrick's Day. It's a good time to plant potatoes. A lot of your cold season crops like onions should be fine right now. A lot of your brassicas, cabbage, broccoli, that kind of stuff, as long as we don't get a hard freeze, which we shouldn't. It's possible, but we shouldn't. It's probably okay to go ahead and plant those now. Most of your other stuff that's, you know, lettuce and that kind of stuff, that'd be fine. You can go ahead and start that now probably. Most of your other stuff, though, that's heat-loving, like tomatoes and peppers and, you know, cucumbers and zucchini and that summer type, you know, garden stuff, you want to wait a little while. Now, you can start them from seed. Like I've got them, you know, my tomatoes are up here on this shelf up here. They're starting from seed. They're about, oh, yay tall right now. You know, you'll need some grow lights. I've kind of gone over this before. You don't need anything special. I've got, you know, my lights are just shop lights, like $10 shop lights you buy from, you know, Home Depot, Lowe's, any of those places. And the bulbs, just get something that's like daylight tone or something like that. You can look at the Kelvin rating on it. You probably want something around between like 5,000 Kelvin and 6,500 Kelvin. And that'll work. Just put them down as close to the plants as you can get them, like basically touching the top of the plants. They really need a lot of light for you to start them indoors. You can do that, but they're not ready to put out in the garden yet. So if you go to the box stores right now, you'll see tomatoes out there on their shelves. Don't buy those and go home and plant them in your garden yet. It's too early for that. Depending on where you're at, some places may be fine, but here it's too early. And they've got them out. They've got them ready to go. I don't plant tomatoes until a couple of weeks past my last frost date, and that's April 15th. So we're looking at first, second week of May before tomatoes and peppers and that kind of stuff go out in the ground. Now, what you can look at is if you go online, Johnny's Seeds. Is it Johnny's Seeds? Let me look it up for you real quick. Johnny's Seeds. Let's find it. Yep, there's a calendar, seed starting calendar, Johnny Seeds. Just do a Google search, Johnny Seeds calendar or whatever, and you'll find it. Seed starting calendar. They've got one of the best ones I found. You go in there and you plug in like your average last frost date, and it spits out like when you should be starting things from seed, if you're going to start them inside from seed, when you should be planting them out into the garden, all that kind of stuff. It's all laid out right there for you. It's way better than me trying to answer that for you. So I would suggest going there and take a look and seeing what you can get away with there. Let's see. He goes on to say, is there nutritious plants that can lice through, I think it means live through cold weather, but are good and healthy? Stores are running out of everything. Yeah, there's plenty of them. A lot of plants you can grow inside too. So lettuce, lettuce and spinach and kind of all those greens, like salad green type things. You can grow those completely in trays under grow lights. You don't have to put them outside. So you can do that. They grow pretty fast too. So that's a good thing. Radishes are pretty hardy, pretty cold hardy. They can germinate as low as like 40 degrees. So if you're not getting anything below that, they'd be fine to go ahead and start them. And they're usually like 20 days to harvest. So those are a good thing to plant as well. Boy, that's a big question. So it's hard for me to come up with a lot of answers to that, unfortunately. All right. Quack Goes the Duck says, good evening, by the way. Thanks. Good evening to you too. Good. Hey to you, Jack. And let's see. Saint Fornaris, I think it is. Hey, Chris, my name is Stamos, and I live in Southern California. Saint Fornaris seems to be hard to say. It does, yeah. Just moved my 3-week-old Jumbo Brown on the new cage in the warehouse for now until they get a little older, and then I'm going to be moving them with the cage outside once they are older, and I can't wait for my first eggs. Nice. Sounds like you got some good birds there. Honestly, let's see, you're in Southern California. It should be pretty nice weather in Southern California, shouldn't it? I mean, like, you're talking like daytime 75 degrees. It probably doesn't get below about 65 degrees or 60 degrees at night. If that's the case, at 3 weeks old, they should be fine to go outside. But if you want to wait another week or two, then go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. And good luck with them. I hope they do well. I'm sure they will. And you should be getting eggs here in probably about 3 to 4 weeks, something like that. All right. Steven says, I have a female quail that lays double yolk eggs almost every day. And they're twice the size as the regular eggs. Is that going to cause a problem for you? It could. It's possible. Check something here. Boy, we're going through time fast. We only got about 14 minutes left. So laying a double yolk egg almost every day. Let's see, what do we got here? Yeah, it could cause problems if it's a regular thing that's ongoing on an ongoing basis. It's very, very common that you're going to see double yolk eggs, little bitty tiny eggs, that kind of stuff when they first start laying. And you may get several of those in a row, but usually they calm down, start laying just kind of normal eggs after, a week or two, something like that. If that's not the case, if it's just laying double yolk eggs almost every day and it's been laying for quite a while, it could cause problems for you eventually. The things I'd worry about is her getting egg bound and those kinds of things. There's probably not a whole lot you can do, though, to fix that. It may just be a genetic thing that she's just prone to lay, bigger eggs all the time. I get one occasionally, but nothing like every day, every other day anyway. So I don't know, that there's a whole lot you can do. Just watch her and hopefully it kind of levels out. That would be my suggestion. All right, let's see. Saint Fornaris, there we go, from your experience. How soon can I start incubating ones that they start laying eggs? Well, that's a good question. You can check to see if your eggs are fertile. That's the short answer is just, once they're fertile. But usually that's about 2 weeks, something like that. Assuming your roosters are crowing. If they're crowing, they're breeding. And, once your birds start laying eggs, I usually give them about 2 weeks. And then I assume they're all fertile. And you can start incubating at that point. If you want to check for fertility, it's pretty easy. Cut the top of the egg off, dump the egg out. You'll have the yolk. Look at the yolk. There should be a white dot on the yolk. That just shows that it's a mature egg. And then you're looking for a faint bullseye ring around that white dot. So it'll be a white dot in the center with a ring, just a real faint ring around it. And if it's got that ring around it, that bullseye ring, then it's a fertile egg. So you can kind of check a handful of your eggs after a week or two and see, out of these 5 eggs, all 5 of them were fertile, then you're good to go. If you check them all and one was fertile out of all 5, you might give them another week, if that makes sense. But usually 2 weeks, something like that. Hang on just 1 second. I think my dog's getting into something. I need to check and make sure. What are you doing? Yeah, there. Come on. Come in here and hang out. Come on. You can stay in here. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. I don't know if he was getting into something or not. It just sounded like it. So brought him in here, make him lay down with us. All right. Where are we at here? Lahib says, trying to go as much as I can that would replace store-bought items. Any ideas? Boy, there's a lot of, there's a lot of different things you can do there. I don't know that I'd look at replacing store-bought items exactly. I mean, you can do that for sure, but, tomatoes, peppers, all that kind of stuff, that's going to be a long-term investment. And when I say long-term, you're looking at, tomatoes are usually like, 126 days to maturity and producing fruit, something like that. So that's months and months away. What you're looking for is probably something that's a little bit faster return. So you can do those things as well. And in the meantime, you might look into things like microgreens, and microgreens are super fast, like 7 days, and you're harvesting. Now you're not going to get a huge harvest, huge meals out of that, but you can get enough to mix in with some lettuce or something like that if you have it handy, and kind of expand like filler for your salads. They're super nutritious as well, so really, really good for you. So those would be a couple of things to look at. There's lots of things you can do for microgreens. I mean, you can do broccoli microgreens, radish microgreens, pea microgreens, sunflower microgreens, all kinds of things. So you can look into those. They're pretty easy to grow, and like I said, really fast turnaround. So those would be a couple of things to look into. Other than that, green onions, they take a little while. Radishes are super fast, like I said, if you like radish. I love radishes, so they work well for me. What else is very quick and easy? Lettuce is pretty quick. You can harvest it pretty early. I'm thinking probably about 2 to 3 weeks, something like that. If you have it under the right lighting and things like that, it'd probably be closer to about 3 to 4 weeks, something like that. Harvesting kind of baby greens, but lettuce can be a cut and come again kind of thing. So it's not when you grow lettuce, you can cut it, and as long as you don't pull it out of the ground, you just cut the top of it off, make a salad or something like that out of it, it'll grow back, and then you get another harvest off of it. You can get 2 or 3 harvests off lettuce. Spinach is the same way. You can do that with spinach. So those are a couple of things that are quick and easy kind of turnaround. It's the best I can do on short notice on that one. Sorry, another drink there. All right, hey, hello, Sonny. All right. Kara Love 2 says, good evening from Canada. I currently have a new doe rabbit. She got 9 kits, 4 days old. Any tips for a new breeder? All right, so, hey, come here. Sorry, the dog got up on me. Down. Good boy, good boy. Where are we at here? From Canada. Okay, any tips on a new breeder? So I think what you're saying is you want to get a new breeder for your doe rabbit. She's got 9 kits, 4 days old. So you've got a little bit of time before you're going to be breeding her again, at least a couple of weeks. I always wait till my doe's at least about 6 weeks old, something like that, before I would breed her. If you just said a new doe rabbit, I don't know. And in Canada, I don't know any breeders. If you're looking for an actual breeder to produce a rabbit, I don't know any in Canada. I don't even really know any around here. I just, happen to come across rabbits every once in a while. I always check Craigslist whenever I'm looking for new rabbits. I always say try to get, if you can, try to get purebred rabbits as your breeders. So I like to go with like a New Zealand white and a California. And they're both purebred, but then you can crossbreed them. They make, the excellent, what was I going to say? They make, you get that hybrid vigor on the offspring, so they tend to grow very, very good, and make good breeder rabbits. If you have 2, and it doesn't have to be New Zealand and California, you can get silver fox and Rex. You can get whatever. I just try to go with purebreds for my breeders. So hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if I can answer that question for you though. Hopefully that helps a little bit, but I'm sorry, I don't know any specifics to be able to point you to. Lauren says, hi, Chris. If you need a moderator to help you with spam, I'm happy to help. Thank you. I appreciate it. If it became an ongoing problem, it was just that one little time. So not too worried about it. If it kept going, I'd go in there and boot him out if I had to. But all right, Kinjo says, so in a supply line situation, what would you feed your quail or chickens if you didn't plant well enough? The grain ran out and you're unable to resupply right away. Good point. I think at that point, I would probably try to let them free range as much as they could. They're going to feed themselves quite a bit. You're just going to have to scramble for things. I don't honestly know how to answer that question. If you didn't plant enough, there's no grain. I don't know that you can feed them a lot. I don't know what else you could feed them. I don't know. I haven't thought about it that much in deep depth. I don't think there's really much of a risk of running out of food for my quail or anything like that. It'd have something to, it'd be something I'd have to experience, I think, to try to figure out. All right. Getting started on homesteading says, I had bald hens. I put more hens and that stopped. Yep. That's the key of most of the time. It's breeding behavior usually. And if you have too many roosters or not enough hens, it's the same thing, then that can definitely happen. And sometimes the key is to reduce your roosters or increase your hen count. All right, where are we at here? Oh boy, I think we're gonna run out. How are we doing? 7:54. We got 6 minutes left. I got to get through a bunch of comments here. All right, Sonny Reeves says I'm skipping some of these highs to everybody, so forgive me if I am. But finally got my Hoverbaiter 1588. After I get the hutch built, I will be ordering jumbo quail to get started. Fantastic. I hear the Hoverbaiters are great, so you should do really, really well with that. All right, we got questions for Hatch. Okay, Lauren. Lauren says, okay, I couldn't find them. I asked for the link on the live chat of the website. I'm not the best at finding things. Not the best. What are we not finding? I'm sorry, I've forgotten. Lauren, I'm sorry, I completely forgot what we were talking about. Oh, you're talking to Hatch Poultry Farms. Okay. Yeah, if you look in any of my most recent videos, there's a link in the description. So if you just go down to the description of the video, not the live broadcast, I don't usually do descriptions on those, but any of my most recent videos, the one that posted on Tuesday morning or whatever, there is a link to Hatch Poultry Farms where you can get the discount. All right, Stump Logic says, I put the scalped one down. It looked to be in pain. Yeah, sometimes that's all you can do. Keep an eye on them. Hopefully it's just a one-time thing, man. All right, Danny says, hey, brother, have you heard of quail 1.5 pound? I've heard of 1.5 pound quail before, but sorry, got distracted here. I've heard of 1.5 pound quail before, but I'm from Missouri. You got to show me. I don't know. I haven't seen any 1.5 pound quail. I'd have to see them. I know there are some bob whites that get that big, but nothing in the Coturnix family that I've seen that could be 1.5 pound. All right. Good evening to you, Chad. Zakab G, anyway, says, hi, Chris, been waiting for your live for about 3 weeks. Got a few questions for you if you can help. Get them asked, man. We got like 3 minutes here. I'll do my best to get them answered for you. Sorry we haven't been able to connect. Here we go. Let me jump down to the rest of his questions. Said, my quail hatched out 3 weeks ago, about 16 days. I took them outside. I have a cage. Similar to yours. Anyways, it seems it's been raining here and almost every day. I was worried that they would get cold and die. So I've had the heated light on them all day and night. I've been turning it off the last 2 days when it's sunny. When can I turn the light off completely? Okay. So you moved your quail outside when they hatched? Oh, wait. They hatched out 3 weeks ago, about 16. Okay, so 16 days you took them outside. So they were 16 days old when you took them outside, I think is what you're saying. I don't know what your weather is like there. It depends on how cold it's getting out there. But usually I find by about 3 weeks old, the birds are usually pretty good to go out without a heat lamp, unless it's like wintertime where it's getting down below freezing. If that's the case, you probably need to protect them until they're about 4 to 5 weeks old, somewhere right around in there. But it sounds like you're on about 2.5 weeks old, something like that. Or that should be they're 3 weeks old now. So honestly, you're probably good to go ahead and remove the heat lamp from them. If you're worried about it, keep it on them for another week, and then they're probably fine. I wouldn't just take it off just like that, though. I mean, if the days are going to be, really, really cold and, a lot colder than what they are now, you might turn it back on. Give them a little bit of warmth for that day to kind of wean them off of it a little bit, but they're probably fine. I wouldn't worry about them too much at this point. I don't usually have problems at all once they hit about 4 weeks old. Very seldom do they have any problems with the weather. All right. All right, Lahib says, I have lights and LED lights and can start all those stuff as of right now. I need seeds, though. Can I plant lettuce and other cold-resistant in-ground, or do I start indoors, too? Well, you should be able to plant them in-ground if you're in Zone 6B. Right now I should be able to plant, we've got one day it's going to be like 35 degrees at night. That's a little cold. But, it doesn't necessarily kill your seeds either. So, after this weekend, I'd feel comfortable planting lettuce and radish and all those things outside. In fact, you could probably just do it right now, and it's probably going to be okay. If you're worried about it, now you can't plant radish inside. You don't want to start that and transplant it. That's a root crop. They don't transplant well. But lettuce you can transplant out. So if you're worried about it, start some outside, start some inside as well, so you have that backup just in case. Seeds are pretty cheap, and you should be able to get them right now. When I was at the store the other day, I mean, they were out of a lot of things, but they still had plenty of seeds. So that should be something you should be able to get. All right, I think we're out of time, aren't we? Oh, wait, there's a question about mites. We'll get that one. Douglas Washer says, how do I get rid of mites? Please help. Okay, okay, so if you're talking about ear mites in rabbits, it's easy to get rid of. Just any kind of food grade oil, olive oil, mineral oil, vegetable oil, anything that's food grade, it doesn't matter. Take an eyedropper, put a couple of drops in each ear every day for about a week until all the scabs are gone. Don't scrape the scabs out, just leave them in there. Just put a couple of drops of oil in each ear. Rabbit's going to hate that. They're going to not really like it at all, but it's a necessary thing. Do that every day for about a week when the scabs are gone, and then every other day for another week and a half, something like that. You should take care of them. Now, if you're talking about fur mites or something like that, you may have to resort to something like ivermectin, which is a pesticide you can get any kind of food supply or farm supply store, and just follow the directions on that for how much to treat your rabbit with, and that'll take care of it. That'll take care of ear mites too, but I don't see any reason to use that when you can use something like olive oil that doesn't have any kind of after effects whatsoever. If you are going to use something like ivermectin and you're going to eat these rabbits, you want to give them at least 30 days since the time you last treated them before you eat them. So hopefully that got that one answered for you. All right. We got to wrap this up now. It's getting late. I got to get up and, I'm working from home in the morning, but I still got to get up and work in the morning. So, sorry if I didn't get your comment answered. I got to quit looking or I will keep talking to you guys. I can't help it. So, thanks for joining tonight, guys. I appreciate it. God bless each and every one of you. Stay safe during this time. Don't panic. We're going to make it through it. We're going to be just fine, but, prayers for all of you for, healing for those that are sick, for safety for those that aren't sick, for common sense for us as a nation, and, all of you around the world, too, that are dealing with this thing. Just prayers for all of you guys. So God bless each and every one of you, and hopefully we'll see you guys again next week. Take care.